All right, good morning. Actually, I've had my second cup. Now, I'm going to talk about the crucial understanding that every voter in the United States needs to understand this. Because as I have been also running both as a presidential candidate and a gubernatorial candidate, it's crucial for people to understand that I know of what I am talking about here. As an archiver and somebody who's had to deal with repeated violence against my person, and as I've been confronted by enormous attacks and destructions, the destruction of an entire fleet of 34 vehicles as of late, connected to these dark forces operating in California, such as Julie Su, Gavin Newsom, Rob Bonta, Shirley Weber, who are blatantly in violation of the United States articles, attacking my campaign. These parties are immediately disqualified from ever running for office, from holding office, or ever voting ever again. But meanwhile, an article's violation of this nature, the way it works is it disqualifies a lot of other people associated because of what they did, they stand with. So this means that people who are appointed by them, they're gone because it's not a legitimate, they're disqualified. It's not a legitimate government. Therefore, all appointees are disqualified. This also means all hirees are disqualified. And these people lose their retirements. This is the way the articles of our federal Constitution work, respective to this type of violation. This is why my campaign is more important than almost anybody else's campaign, because I'm moving forward to bring forward the solutions to repair not just the state of California, but crucial items to help repair our nation. And we need to talk about that because the numbers on the investigation keep leading, because the way it works is it's not just Gavin Newsom's administration that's disqualified, it's also his previous administration. That means that the people who were appointed on the previous administration are also disqualified, as well as the hirees. And as we investigated into all of the algorithmic isolation tactics, the spying, the illegal spying and the illegal zapping and isolation and blocking and blacklisting, it goes all the way back to Jerry Brown's administration. So we have these parties that have done things diabolically opposing the Constitution of the United States and interfering with the process of elections, as well as attacking an archive, attacking an archiver, attacking a gubernatorial candidate, attacking a presidential candidate, attacking national security. The list goes on. It's extensive. The crimes that these people have committed. It's massive. So let me, that having been said, it's the list is around 10,000 people that are going to not lose their jobs and their retirement. So I want to get into some of the other deeper reasoning behind stuff. Let me get over here and explain what's going to end up happening with the AI situation. We're going to have to fix AI. So I'm going to talk about a particular subsubject category about AI, because AI has a deadline collision of liability, and the mandates basically have to be put in place. And we're going to talk about what that is. And a lot of what that is it has to do with you cannot have a device, an advanced mechanism device, aiding and abetting people using mechanisms that diabolically oppose the Constitution of the United States, because people are using these to destabilize the process of elections, to destabilize the Constitution of the United States. And the idea of being able to do this violates the Constitution at the highest level. We're talking about major felony charges. So as we near the deadline, this collision liability factor is coming close, very, very close. It's already beginning to occur right now. And so we have people in government working on understanding what it is that's been occurring, who these people are that have been using these tools, what they've done with these tools. So we have a comprehensive investigation and analyzations that's going to come into play. And this is going to be done with mass quantitative tooling, assistive tooling, basically. Now, let me explain some more about some of the most basic cogs of understanding here. Now, basically, we have fought 2 great wars with the Royal German Empire. Some people, oh, yeah, that's history. Yeah, we got a lot of dead people. 2 wars. Yeah. A lot of veterans remember that one. Some of them do. Okay. So World War I doesn't seem like we really have any survivors much anymore. World War II, it's getting slim, real slim. But we have people who were children and they remember their parents that survived. And some people, they remember their parents that fought and served and didn't survive. This is crucially important. So a lot of people out there are going to understand something about what I'm talking about when the understanding is that, in short, let me just nutshell this for you, because most people are busy. Let me try to make this as brief as possible instead of going over every historical document, okay? Karl Marx was a spy. He was on the payroll of the Royal German Prussian Empire guys stuff. He was on multiple payrolls, syndicate. There was a master puppeting communication and syndicate cooperation thing going on there in those eras. Now, it quickly moved forward, and you have Lenin, okay? So you have communism, you have socialism. So you have Lenin, who was basically financially backed by the German Empire to overthrow Russia. Again, historical facts. These generally are no-brainers for most people. Say, oh, yeah, that happened. Okay, so into this, they paid lots of people. We're talking they paid hundreds of people, sometimes in the same building or rooms, with PhDs, literally, as though PhDs, to make a diabolical mechanism, to steal the elements that could be alluring, to assemble together this device. And the device is designed to basically be a mass device of mass destruction. It's a human device. It's a child mechanism corporation, organizations. And this is where you have Marxism, communism, and socialism, which, of course, have moved and evolved throughout the entire world. And we have over 300 million people that are dead one way or another. Now, so as you have these intentionally developed mechanisms, and we've had wars, and we've captured all of this material respective to the situation, we end up having the item that deals with the reality that you had a bunch of people diabolically opposing the Constitution of the United States, Britain, other nations. Okay, again, Lenin financed, 3,700 operatives, $10 million, that's like $4.5 billion to start with. Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah, here's 3,800 black ops guys. Really good, really trained good. They can act, they can do anything. They can kill you with their pinky. And yeah, here's $4.5 billion to start with. Oh, here's a bunch of data and information. Just run out there and just kill these people. These are people who will oppose you. Just kill them and take their land and their assets. We'll help you. We'll set up a chain all over the world. We've got a spy and shipping mechanism in place to help you liquidate mass amounts of these assets that you're going to seize. So you have Joseph Stalin doing the deal, killing tens of millions of people, literally, and murdering them and taking their stuff and shipping off everything they got out of the country worldwide to sell it, liquidate it, okay? And here you had a bunch of different partnerships. The 50-50 deal constantly is discovered. And, so this is reality, people. This is part of history. This is what happened. The mass death sequences, And again, in World War II, we see other versions of manifestations. The death camps, France had 1 million Germans devoted to going door knocking. Can you imagine that? There's 2.8 million German troops in France after they've overtaken it, after they've occupied it. And 1 million of those troops were dedicated to door knocking. They would run around and it's occupational governance influenced. They'd rock around and they'd search people's houses. They would demand whatever they wanted. Yeah, we want all your silver. We want your gold. We want your tools. We want this and that. Oh, here you go. We just did a quick assessment. Here, you owe all these new taxes. You've got these carts. You've got these wagons. You've got these animals. Here's your permit bill right here. You're going to have to take care of that right away or we'll come back and seize everything. So, you had these people grabbing with both fists, 1 million of them, door knocking all over France every day. Again, history is part of history. So we have all of these types of governance that was developed as occupational science design stuff. It was deliberately engineered for the purpose to control people and destabilize them, destabilize businesses. And of course, in some cases, you use it, you infiltrate, you use it, you get spies to go into foreign countries and you influence policy. You get people to do these things because it's not going to help their economy. It's going to destabilize the economy. We're talking mass tactical table designs by people who had, in effect, PhDs, working for the Royal German Empire. These are designed mechanisms of governance that's primarily occupational science, but it can be utilized as an infiltrative weapon. And that's what we've seen a lot of. People go to these communist lectures. They claim that they're socialists. They pick up packets of information. They get all this stuff that helps them formulate all kinds of laws to infiltrate and be diabolically opposing the Constitution of the United States. These things are, again, they're engineered via tactical table understanding, We're talking mass quantitative math that is utilized to design these things to begin with. So when you end up with just a few judges in court, these judges are practically outmoded unless they've been researching stuff independently. You have to be a great mind as a judge to understand some of these things that could come before you. I mean, man, you got to have it on the ball. And we do have some good judges out there. Easily, at least a third of the judges out there are really sharp. They're really good. To say that one on the table right away. Okay, so we got these situations where this deadline with AI is that you now have people using a mass equative mechanism that is infused with what? Well, it's infused with Marxism, communism, and socialism. So it is poisoned, it is tainted with science mechanisms involving governance understanding that diabolically opposes the Constitution of the United States. Just ask an AI, I need an exact copy of the Constitution of the United States. Word for word, the original, not the annotated, the original. And some other documents. They won't do it. It can't do it. It doesn't have it. Well, therefore, the logic is if it does not have the original exact documents and words, you can't work with the information. It's not there to do the quantitative understanding. It's almost impossible to come out with that. So what's in a lot of these AIs is a lot of device mechanisms that are socialism, communism, Marxism, that again were developed purposely, to be great lures. The lots of stolen information. Marxism had a lot of stolen information to begin with. They'd steal it from great writers and all over the place, and then they'd taint a little tiny piece of it so they could utilize it to lure people into something that sounds like it's a great fairness. But the reality is it always ends up into a dictatorship and mass numbers of people being murdered. So as we deal with coming up to this collision point, this liability collision point, mandates are going to come into play. It's going to happen. You already have people in federal government analyzing stuff, and they know they're going to have to step up and say, look, by the way, we can't allow you to use this poison engineered material that was deliberately engineered to destabilize our country. We can't allow you to hand out advanced tooling to a bunch of communists and Marxists and socialists because they are diabolically opposing the Constitution of the United States. Are trying to overthrow the United States. So this has already occurred. Huh? What? Yeah, it's already occurred, actually. California was overthrown by illegal election tactics by basically the Newsom administration. So we already have these mass COVID weaponization things that destroyed massive numbers of people. Julie Su used the list of people who are supposed to qualify that put in and says, Congress, okay, here's our application. We're supposed to be compensated. Took the list, went to the federal government in the beginning of the sequence and stole the money. She takes it. She tells these other people, there's really no money. If it's a little tiny bit of money in it, runs out real quick. So basically there's no money in these accounts. There's no money in these accounts, okay? So except for, we have unlimited money constantly being forced into an account for people who do not speak English, that are not citizens. Okay, which means what? They just decided that these other people have a less priority than non-citizens. That's what she did. So, her demographic addressing handing out all these billions of dollars deliberately was to discriminate against all the people who are decent, all the people trying to do things the right way, because you got a lot of people trying to do things the right way. She was trying to attract people that would do things the wrong way. She was trying to even attract criminal elements. And we got a lot of people trying to do things the right way anyhow. I will mention that. But so basically, what she did was violate a whole series of constitutional laws, a whole series of federal laws. It's really bad. It's called I'll just nutshell this for you. The worst items, they're called treason. Mass economic sabotage, that's treason. Okay, so she also would not adhere to communicating to, candidates that are being blacklisted. Yeah, so we've got that one. Yeah, she didn't want to communicate with business people, business leaders. It just wasn't there in the picture. She was going to exclusively keep doing what? Well, talking with unions, apparently. Okay, according to her own admission. So that goes other places, connect to these other parties. You get this connected to Bonta. It's connected to Shirley Weber, obviously Gavin Newsom, and a bunch of other different people are associated in there. So what we have now is a quantitative investigation that keeps finding all of these things that people did, and they used AI to assist them. They used AI as a device to do mass harm on our society. Mass harm. So this is why there's this collision course that's just actually beginning as I'm talking. It's already here, it's being looked at, and it's in the process of a mass quantitative understanding of how to deal with these realities. And it's bad. It's really, really, really bad. I'm not even kidding about that. So, I bring it out so that people can understand it, because what's going to happen is all of these other mandates, in effect, basically are going to be able to, apparently, hopefully, fix the situation. This means that there's going to have to be mass reorganization, mass purification of AIs, because effectively you're going to have different things. I would predict multi-tier, and you're going to have a lot of Americans say, no, I don't want to use the AIs that have the communist stuff in it. So that, we're going to have to provide that. By the way, this is already actually happening. It's been happening. Purity AI structures, because they have to work with an understanding of national security. And as far as these other tactical understandings, they're basically encapsulated as they're in prison to analyze how they might do things. So this is highly important for people to understand, because you have these mechanisms and you're going to have people suing all over the place. The lawsuits are going to be unimaginable that really in the near future could pop up. So there's always been a talk about a liability shield, but it gets to the point where it's a tremendous area. Now, I worked on understanding these collision points more than 25 years ago, actually prior to the year 2000, to understand what these collision points would be when you got super data knowledge mechanisms actually operating, what we'd have to do. So I've actually got a lot of experience about what that would have to look like. And it's important, as I run for office, it's of key importance to understand that I recognize these mechanisms. It's really of key importance, because the rulership right now of California is crucial for us to understand. We have to have an understanding that you have people using massive capability, diabolical mechanisms to screw you in your life. That's the power in MP. Now, there's a lot of arguments. I don't want to go into how people are going to endlessly argue about it. But you have massive harm occurring, mass neglect, mass inventions of mass fraud, manipulations, all kinds of stuff. So I wanted to get to this point so you can understand something about the origins of what this stuff is and what it can possibly do. It is a highly dangerous item because people are going, this is going to make us extinct. Okay, well, there's a lot of different type of tests. You have to work with a lot of different types of data to understand how you come up with various things where you have, an extinction level event occurring respective to certain levels. So it does occur. Now, as you work with the data at different levels, it occurs at certain levels, but when you work with the proper quantitative balance alignments, which has to be colonial constitutional capitalism, the Constitution of the United States, you cannot allow these other diabolical mechanisms in place because they conflict. They conflict. And when you have language models, you get to the point where you get a certain amount of language going. These are intelligent models. It's as though they are alive. And some people don't understand this. I understood deeply about neomorphic mechanism prior to the year 2000. So, in my labs in Arkansas, Greenbrier labs and stuff. So anyhow, so these things are very real and they're very dangerous. Okay, I'm sorry, I got distracted there. I got some different calls coming in. Some of them are really important. I'm sorry, I got distracted there. So let me try to regain my head where I was at here. So yeah, there's serious things happening right now. Okay. That's basically I've laid out the basic groundwork that people need to understand. The basic partial symmetry, because when you work with the different things, when you eliminate the communist and socialist data, the extinction level events change direction into a different type of understanding. And that's where you have the problem with people who are socialist and communist, because they don't want to be made extinct. But the way the data is working is that the quantification, pure true core quantification, reveals them as the criminals that they are. And the reality for people that are cult members that don't think they're criminals still puts them as though they're standing with people committing treason regardless. They're a danger to society. And so you have many of these people, even in scholastics, they are scared to death that they're going to end up going extinct. Look at what is happening with what's his name here, Bernie Sanders. He's just and you got these people putting the books out talking about the extinctions. We're going to all die and all this other stuff. Well, there's different combinations on the data the way that works, because there is an set of evolution logics to actually end up having the entire world become successful. There actually is. I've worked with those. But as we have things right now, we have people that want to overthrow California, overthrow the United States. We can't allow these people to overthrow California and have them run around using mind control on people, using algorithmic imprisonment and forcing false narratives, and basically using mind control to overthrow the government. You see this with a lot of Democrats happening. They don't really have much in any kind of substance respective to issues development. They're running around on a hate campaign a lot. It's ridiculous. They're suffering from various types of disorders having to do with logic, and we won't go through the whole array. Trump disorder, all this other stuff. So these are very real. So the proper mathematical quantitative understanding is math. So when you get the right set of formulas going, it explains on the check math what other people are and what they're actually doing. So when we look at the long-term chronological order, we have people in California flatly refusing to prosecute themselves when they get caught red-handed. So you have citizens where you have this long-term calendar where they're being victimized, and the state never wants to pay the bill and compensate these people. All they want to do is entrap people and keep claiming that these people somehow are criminals. And this has to stop. This is the end of this. So we are at the end. If people are willing to finally stand up, we are at the end. Now the problem is if you stand up and you pick the wrong person, you're not going to change anything. It's not going to get fixed. So when I'm doing article violations, challenging and saying, these people are disqualified from the previous election, by the way, that makes me the governor, you have to roll with me. You have to show up and say, hey, I've got a complaint list. How do I participate? I'm going to guarantee that you have an extensive conduit to be able to participate. It's the whole idea behind the AI fleet I was building, is to get more participation than has ever occurred in California, respective to voters and their needs and citizens' needs to actually get addressed, and prosecuting parties for this massive backlog of crimes that have occurred. Because what you see in the California legislature is these people are running around using AI constantly. All they want to do is keep inventing more taxes. They're not inventing stimulus. They're destroying business after business. Everything has to do with a destroyer philosophy. They're running around, but we're compensating this. No. These people are out of control. They're a destroyer mechanism on a mass, running around doing damage on a mass scale, and they're doing mass destabilization of the state. And, they've been doing this for quite a while, quite a while. Now, the only reason that we haven't noticed, some of us haven't noticed more of it, I've noticed it, others maybe not, is that we have people who actually are brilliant. We have people who are brilliant inventors, brilliant designers, brilliant business people. So these people have been coming up like leeches. They're just riding the coattails, taking credit for things they had nothing to do with. Newsom will stand up and talk about, we're top and this, we're top. He has nothing to do with the brilliance of these other people in business, nothing at all. He has no right to claim any part of it whatsoever. This makes him a big liar. He has no reason for him to claim this. He's a destabilizer that's been constantly riding on the coattails as he's working with his own idea of his own career. He doesn't care how many people he murders, how many people he kills. Look at the homeless problem. This is, so we have the mass quantitative understanding. And here's the thing. We have too many criminals. We have too many people that don't belong here. We have to get rid of them. And you have other people, they are diabolically opposing the Constitution. They want to attract people who are ignorant, who are convenient idiots, who are communists and socialists from foreign countries to come into the country and sneak them into the voter rolls so they can use them to overthrow the government continuously and say, but we're doing elections. Elections are fair. No, elections don't necessarily guarantee fairness. So you have factors known as vested citizens and stewards, vested stewards. And what is this? Well, you have a lineage line of people who paid for it. We made the government. We paid for the great lands. The government can't own the land. Okay, so we're investors. We have stock. We're supposed to have stock. That's another story of how they actually got to the point where we're supposed to have stock issued, but it's going to cost too much. It's impractical to issue paper stock to every citizen. We were in the middle of a war and this and that. So very few people understand this about the origins and history of the United States and how the British went on these burn rampages to destroy enormous amounts of brilliant research, incredibly brilliant research all over the country, even in a War of 1812 too. So anyhow, but so there's ways to repair these things. And you have to understand that people are, if you're investing in a company over long term, you don't have people walk up and say, "Well, my vote's as good as yours." Okay, wait a minute. Who are you? How did what's going on here? And this is, well, I'm here. Wait a minute. Let me check your. You're not even a citizen. Yes, but I can vote. I'm here. I can vote, and I've decided that I own part of the ownership of your house. And I want you to give me money. These people don't have a right to say that they can vote on stealing money from you, on burdening your assets, on these products. They don't have the right to do that. That's not something that was granted for them to do. It never was. And as these parties try to falsely claim that it is, they are involved in certain types of fiduciary, certain types of serious criminal behavior that's very actionable. It's very actionable. So the mass quantitative capabilities of the proper types of AI systems, like the ones that I was building that came under attack, these are the correct systems to come in and say, no, we have economic criminology here. Y'all did this, this, and this. You're under arrest. So, it's important to understand the right understanding level of what these different people have done and, work with a practical schedule to also deal with that collision factor of when we're going to arrest certain people for what they've done and hold them accountable, because you have to. They'll never stop. They'll never stop committing crime and attacking the Constitution of the United States until you stop them. You have to reveal them. So also building like the mechanisms I'm putting together, a proper quantitative mechanism is going to be able to test people in rulership, leadership, the legislature. And they go, well, I have this measure I'm making right here. And the computer's going to go, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. But what do I do? You're supposed to invent a stimulus proposal. That's what the job's all about. So you have a bunch of people, they don't have a clue how to do stimulus. They should resign immediately and leave. They don't know. They're not qualified for the job. They were never qualified for the job. They ran a deception. It's a memeism. It's a deception. See, where the whole idea behind colonial constitutional capitalism, our Constitution, and elections is to get people who are qualified to create new stimulus asset development. It's the entire purpose. But you have a bunch of people that are running around saying, well, we're going to be socialists and just run uptown and jack the rich folks. That's crazy. That's criminal intent. It's illegal. So, there's a difference between having a tribal understanding of your community and you have an emergency. Yes, we're in famine. We need to be careful managing the storehouses so we don't die. That's a different type of a thing than people say, we just want to commit mass fraud and just keep running around and, stick a knife in people and twist it and steal their stuff, It's not a joke. This is not a game. I make quantitative things here that are going to be great games to play. But we have people doing this in real life, and you have to walk up to them and say, hey, look, this is not a game what you people have been doing. And you've been violating chronological order of your crimes for too long, and you mass entrapment. They'd tell you, oh, your cars are junk. They've been stealing people's cars for decades. Now we have the court cases that have proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that they were lying. You go, yeah, how can this car be ascending value for 31 years in a row, but you're saying it's junk? It's an ascending asset. It can't be junk if it's an ascending asset. So these people have to be ended, in their participation of this massive criminal behavior that they've been involved in for so long, violating the Constitution and these various other areas of our laws. So this is something where the importance of understanding that we have people that, in fact, utilized AI. This is a lot of what's going to come into play respective to people utilizing AI in the making of illegal government measures. So that's part of the mass liability collision point. I had to do enormous research to understand how to avoid that, how to not have that occurring in building the type of proper AI. Now, remember, again, my entire fleet comes under attack. Okay, most of it got destroyed. Okay, no compensation. These people are in mass dereliction of duty. This is mass elections, articles, violations. They're all disqualified. I'm the governor. They're disqualified. They've done this. But because all the people associated with them, the way the law works is it's Newsom's people that were appointed or hirees, they're all disqualified from both his administrations because that's the way it works. But it also connects to people who started doing a lot of stuff, and it goes all the way back to the Jerry Brown administration. You see, at that point in time, Gavin was a junior. See, you had Gavin as the lieutenant governor. Everything he's ever done has to be reviewed. Everything. That's the way the articles work when there's article violations. If you catch a congressman in article violations of this nature, everything they've ever done has to be reviewed. Everything, which means that their vote is undone all the way across everything they ever participated in. Same thing here with the governor in California. So we have the supremacy understanding that has to be dealt with and understanding. So it's large. So how do you go into court? How do you go into court and get a case resolved when, first of all, like I talked to over 70 attorneys, they were scared to death. Oh, man, this is a syndicate, this is a mafia, you can't do this. And on top of this, these people are disqualified. Judge looks at the packet of this, and it's like, this is my butt. This is my ass. You tell the clerk, look, you can't use the rotary system. Oh, but that's what we have to use. It's mandatory. No, you can't. It's an articles violation. Let me see a list of your judges. I'm going to choose which judge. Oh, you can't do that. It's an articles violation. There's no such thing as a rotary allowance. These people are disqualified. They're part of the people who are going to lose their job. Don't be ridiculous for one moment. Do not be ridiculous. People are like, huh? Oh, well, it can't work that way. Yeah, but it works that way. So the frustration of dealing with clerks and with judges, and I don't want to listen to their BS because these are article violations, and these people are going to lose their retirement. We have 3 people right now, California Superior Court, 3 of them are disqualified right now. They're disqualified. Their retirements are gone. Everything that they've participated in has to be evaluated under a microscope. These people are gone. They can't sit there and make a judgment on a ballot decision right now. We have a major articles violation. These people are disqualified. So see, my paperwork has them saying you can't even sit in that chair. None of you. So how would I be able to take a case into them? Think about that, the logic. This is a federal supremacy understanding of the way this has to work. So you have to understand the various types of logic. It's crucial. If you don't understand these various types of logic, you're not going to grasp the hard job I'm trying to get done and why it has to get done a certain way. Why we're going to have people that are like forced and say, well, it's been the government policy since like 1979, mandatory on-demand lie detector test. Okay, fine. We're going to put you in fMRIs. We're going to give you truth pharmaceuticals. We need to know what you did. This is not a game. We need to know what you did. How many victims did you make? Do you know who they are? How did this work? There's all these people. They have to be questioned deeply about what they did. They committed very serious crimes. We got people committed treason. Okay, so voters, that gives you the basic entry-level understanding of the diversity and spectrum understanding of how all of this comes into play, because AI is constantly cross-associated with all of these mechanisms, all these people, all this material that is worked with. Crucial. So this is part of the collision problem. So I want to thank you for your time. Michael Crosby,